Hi guys, welcome back to my Conquest monthly update session. This is for R12 for the month of December 2024. I'm going to go through some updates there. Nothing earth-shattering, but a couple of nice updates, so little tweaks and adjustments made to provide additional detail and additional control within the settings, which I quite like actually. So let's get started. I'm going to go through release 12 notes, as you can see here, and the table of contents I'm going to go through with you. New features, you can see miscellaneous deductions and credits. Moving on to feature enhancements, some listed there: missing data, risk management, stock option, family trusts, and build a strategy, which will be really nice to review with you. So let's start right from the top. New features, miscellaneous deductions and credits. So with the tax assumptions card, you can now add miscellaneous tax deductions or credits for clients and dependents. When adding a miscellaneous deduction or credit, you can specify the amount of the adjustment, the years in which it applies, and whether the amount should be indexed. So let's head on over to Conquest and we'll take a closer look here. So tax assumptions card right here, we want to go into, and right here, it's hard to see with that little bar, but we can click on it and then we can pick the individual. So it picks up everyone in the plan. So I've got John, Jane, and their son Jimmy. And so I'm going to do this under John. You can see we have options for miscellaneous credit, and as well, there it's moved over there, I can add in a miscellaneous deduction. So within each of these components, we can go into more data and you can fill out the amount. We can specify whether it's a one-time or an annual recurring amount, and we can index to inflation or not. So that's for the credits. And with regards to deductions, similar idea. We can specify the amount, whether it's one time, the starting tax year, or if it's an annual credit indexed to inflation or not. So thinking in terms of some of the deductions and credits are automatically built into Conquest. Common deductions would be for an RSP contribution. The software will automatically calculate those deductions and include it in the reports, so no worries there. Common credits would be like the age tax credit, things like charitable tax credits if you put in a charitable donation. That's all handled for you automatically within Conquest. It's just those additional ones you might want to capture. So the common ones that might fall outside of the data that you're entering into the plan, I just made a list here, could be the Canada Training Credit, investment tax credits, or something like the Nova Scotia Affordable Living Tax Credit. So these may not be picked up right in the software. But if you're referencing a client's T1 general and you notice that information, you might want to include it on here so the cash flows, ins and outs of your plan just be a little more detailed, right? And as far as the common tax deductions that might fall outside of an RSP deduction, et cetera, would be things like employment expenses, tradesperson tools deduction, moving expenses, spousal and child support payments, and things like legal fees. Things like this that might fall, again, outside of the normal realm of entering someone's income and general expenses for living, right? So nice layers here, nice additions, which I think are quite nice. So if you're a detailed-oriented advisor, this will be right up your alley. Now, there was one reference to whether, the deduction would be, applied before net income or after. Just a note within there, there's this toggle right here. And notice this little pop-up question mark. Okay, as you hover over, and you can click on it, a little pop-up window arises. So it just says, when set to yes, the tax credit will be considered non-refundable. When set to no, the tax credit will be considered refundable. So just knowing the difference between refundable versus non-refundable tax credits, important to note there. And then as well with the deductions, you can see deduction will be included in the owner's net income. When set to no, the deduction will be added after net income. So just some of those little differences there, just to be mindful of. As you can see, it defaults to yes in either situation. Okay, so let's move on to the next item here, which are feature enhancements, missing data and strategy concern insights. says here to continue to further enhance our new insights feature. This is in reference to SAM insights. We've introduced missing data insights and strategy concern insights. The insights added are meant to highlight possible inaccuracies and discrepancies in the plan, both within the plan and data inputs and within SAM recommendations. Okay, so I'm really getting the sense that SAM insights is becoming more and more front and center. If I click and open up just in reference to the insights there, the little light bulb, and it just gives you some details around what is top priority, what are items needing attention, and any additional information. Also, notice at the bottom here, you can click on these warnings and questions here to access them as well. There's a couple of ways you can navigate around this. But really, again, as I referenced in my last session, I think this is really useful if you're still getting your feet wet with Conquest, need some help, that extra guidance there, just lean on Sam. It's going to really help point you in the right direction and some things to think about. And conversely, if you're a more experienced Conquest user, I still think this can be useful to you, especially in regards to just quickly going back into a plan again, getting up to speed on the data and inputs. Am I missing anything? Picking up where you left off. Or it could be a situation where you're following up with the client, doing a review meeting, updating the financial plan. It just helps you get back up to speed very quickly. So the more I use it, the more I like it, is what I'm trying to say. So in reference to the release notes, it's saying missing data, missing no account fees. It's just going to flag all of that. Before, we didn't have an awareness of that front and center like with SAM Insights does now. You had to go into the card, but notice as well, as you click on items needing attention, here's a data concern. So pre-retirement cash flow, it's just pointing towards that. We can choose not now or update the data. Okay, accounts without savings. So this is nice. I like this because if we go into the accounts cards here, notice it's flagging it here with a little blue question mark, as you can see, and it's highlighting in blue accounts that do not have a pack or a savings set up. Okay, so it's just reminding you, do you need to input that information? Do we need to address it? Going further a little bit down, asset allocation. Okay, setting the current versus recommended. So again, in the plan settings, asset allocation, just note it's flagging it there, all income and do not reallocate. So we can set preferences here and make the adjustments. To zoom back out, there is the reference again. So some nice features in there, and that's what that's in reference to with regards to the release notes around these areas. So I quite like them the more I use them. Moving on, let's go to the risk management improvements. So this is with regards to the insurance analysis components. It has a suggested life insurance term length. Okay, by term life insurance, same strategies are located within the insurance analysis scenario. It's been enhanced to automatically adjust the recommended term length of the policy to correspond with the life expectancy set by the insurance analysis scenario. So two components here. The second one is with the insurance analysis pre-retirement deficit coverage. This is in with regards to the disability insurance analysis scenarios. So life insurance on the life side, buying term life, and with regards to disability. So let's head over to Conquest in the software and we'll take a closer look at what is this all about. If we go into the planning tab, this is where you normally would initiate your work with a client. You're clicking, you're applying strategies. And then a natural progression is to go into the risk management. You can see up here just the next one. So I have a preference. I kind of work my way across here, right? So risk management, there are two components. There's the insurance calculators where you can do a quick needs analysis. You can click on the analysis for life, CI, and DI, and how much insurance do they need? It'll pick up and recognize any in-force policies. Do you want to keep, replace, or ignore? So we have components in there. But with regards to the updates, I'm going to bypass calculators. I'm going to go back to the analysis. And I quite like it. You can see I threw in a couple scenarios here. Let me just delete it for a quick second and then show you when I'm entering it again from the beginning. So when you come here, it's blank. It says add a scenario to get started. So I'll click add a scenario. You can pick who. So I'll start with the life insurance and I'll say, what if John passes away sooner? And so it just defaults to 58. That's how old he is now. So I'm going to say, I'm going to adjust that for next year. He's going to pass away at age 59. Now you can choose to direct death proceeds to a surplus account with a 0% rate of return or a bank account. And you also have controls here, willingness to do any of these things. The more you adjust these sliders will help rank and prioritize SAM and the recommended strategies. So the more you use this, the more you get back from it, just like on the planning preferences side on the client overview section. So I'm just going to leave the defaults. I'm going to go to done. And as you can see here, moving this aside, we can see it does a great job. It says attention required, kind of alerts you, okay? And it can also think in terms of how you present this to your client. Make them aware of the risks. So you can say, John, if you died next year, what will happen? What's going to happen with Jane? Okay, so we can see this is pre-retirement incomes, and then we have from retirement or Jane's retirement to life expectancy. There's a lot of red showing up here is what I'm trying to say, right? So this red indicates if John passes away, his income is gone. Okay, Jane, what will she do? Well, it's just defaulting to her running out of money. So her lifestyle would have to make some adjustments along the way. So you can see on the left here, we have some options. We can add additional expenses. Could be an expense like funeral, could be moving costs or something. Who knows? Funeral expense, there it is there. It could be adjust Jane's income. Would she take time off from work? Would she get another job? So you can play around and mess around with the different income of Jane after the event. Or would she pay off any liabilities? Okay, so you've got scenarios of, sort of just going through from top to bottom some of the things that might occur or additional expenses that might take place if John were to pass away. And then you have down below here some reactive strategies. How would Jane react? Would she, reduce her retirement expenses? Would she downsize to a less expensive home? So you can work through the thought process with your client, and illustrate it basically. So with regards to the update here, the suggested insurance, here we go. So it's suggesting term or permanent life insurance. And you can see if we apply the term length, it's suggesting 10 years because it's within 10 years of the retirement date right there, or his retirement. And it's suggesting a base coverage of just over $2 million. Why? Because if I click on it and apply it, that's the amount of money, lump sum, that's required to fill the holes, right? So Jane can maintain her lifestyle, her standard of living without having to make any drastic adjustments. That's the amount of insurance. But note, remember, directing sale proceeds went to that account, that surplus account with a 0% rate of return. If you directed it to an investment account with a rate of return, the need wouldn't be as high, okay? Because that lump sum could be potentially invested after paying off liabilities, funeral expenses, or anything else, right? Education fund for the kids, that lump sum could be invested and generating an income or a rate of return. So that 2.3 million is sort of the worst case amount with a 0% rate of return. So I hope you're making sense of what I'm saying there, but that can be adjusted and incorporated into a moderate portfolio or a balanced portfolio. So the need would not be as high as 2.3 million. So anyways, it's easier to come down, I would say, than go up in most cases. It's not recommending an insurance premium amount, but you can cross-reference your other calculators, your different carrier providers for an amount and the term, and you can refine that. You can just manually enter in the monthly premium amount right there. Okay, so that's the life insurance component. With regards to the disability, and one component here was use investments to cover approximately a certain amount if someone were to become disabled. So let's take a look at that for a second. I'm just going to check off on that, and I'm going to add another scenario here. If disability, if John becomes disabled, okay, when is that going to happen? Plan date, I'm just going to change that. We can adjust it to plan date plus 1 year. Let's see if that takes care of that. Yes, it does. So he becomes injured next year. And again, no surprise, attention's required. John becomes disabled. You now see pre-retirement shortfalls because he has no income. It's just earned income from Jane's side. So how do we address this risk? Obviously, it also addresses highlights the need because in retirement, there's now a lot of shortfalls. So we want to have maybe a policy in place. And in reference to the update, what would we do? We would use up Where is it here? Use investments to cover the shortfalls pre-retirement. So if I apply that, there you go. Did you notice the little red tip stopped or decreased, I should say? And so they're accessing their investments. But again, you see there's additional shortfalls here. Okay, so maybe there's some other thing we need to consider there as well, in addition to a disability policy or anything else. Maybe increasing savings now. I don't know. That just starts illustrating, what would happen in the event of something like this happening. So I think in terms of helping advisors illustrate this to clients, I think it can really hit home. It can really illustrate the need for this type of protection. Again, this is life, this is disability I've explored with you. We can layer in critical illness as well. So there's a lot of opportunity is what I would say here with regards to the insurance analysis component. So on a case-by-case basis, we can review together in more detail. Let's move on. So another next option would be, a stock option annual vesting limit enhancement. I have not done any plans with the stock options yet, but if I go back to the client overview section, you can see there's a card here for equity incentives. So for those executives at these companies, could be CEO, chief operating officers, whatever it is, these executives who have stock options, we can illustrate that. And in regards to that, what they've enhanced here is the annual vesting limit and whether it applies. So just wanted to show you that. Let's take a look there. If I go back in, I've added the stock option, or it showed up there, and I slide down to the bottom. You can see if it's granted by a CCPC, Canadian Controlled Private Corporation, okay, or not. I'm going to leave the default to no, but here is where you'll see the enhancements. Eligible for security option deduction, and when I click yes, we have the annual vesting limit applies. Okay. One thing I like about the software is as you click on things, it'll only populate the next field if it's applicable. So it's kind of neat how that works. And again, on a case-by-case scenario, we can explore this further together. Any stock options or annual vesting limits, if applicable, we can now illustrate that quite nicely. So that's what that's about. Let's move on. We've got some enhancements around family trusts, which I quite like. And so you can see they've added the ability, just like on the corporation side, when we add operating companies, holding companies, we can add additional accounts inside the accounts card. Same with the family trust. So it's just a further development and consistency amongst other components of the software. So if I go over here and I look at the family trust, I'm just going to move that to the side there. Okay. So within the accounts card, you'll note that it does default to just putting in an investment account, and we have to include the market value. Well, down here in the bottom left, we can add a bank account. So just like the other corporations cards, we can add multiple accounts. And in turn, what that allows you to do is the account transfers. So it can properly mirror reality, right? So typically you might see a family trust would have a basic bank account, checking account, and then an investment account. So we can build in these account transfers moving from the bank account over to the investment account, and that's invested. So I quite like that. That's a nice development there. And so with regards to the ability to select which account to direct certain trust inflows is available using direct proceeds. So if we go into the investment account, you'll see here, where was it? Direct proceeds. It's not showing up. Why is it not showing up? Let's see, there was a section. I made some adjustments on the corporation. So I put the family trust as the owner. Okay, let's go back here. Let's back up a second here. I must have missed something. So account transfers card, future prescribed rate loans, direct proceeds. So let's take a look at that. Future prescribed rate loans. Here we go. This is what I was referring to. So future prescribed rate loan, if there is one, I've added it in just to delete it, show you how I put it in. I'll delete it. It's right here. And I added a future prescribed rate loan. We can choose which account to direct the proceeds to. So I added in that bank account and it shows up now as an option. So that will further enhance the flows. And then with regards to common share dividends in a corporation with shares owned by the trust. So that's where I got a little mixed up there for a second ago. So the way I've structured this, I've got a corporation, just JS operating company. I put the family trust as 100% owner. Okay. So what that means, if I distribute a common share dividend, where is that shareholder distributions here? Okay. And what that's going to do, it's going to direct the proceeds to the family trust. And again, because I added that bank account, it's both options are showing. So it just helps better manage the cash flows flowing in. Okay. So really nice additions with regard to that. Same would occur if I did a transaction sale of the shares of the corporation where the family trust is the owner. The cash flows after sale will flow into the family trust. So again, we have the controls to determine which account it goes into. The order of account redemptions in the trust to cover deficits is the same as private corporations, starting with accounts to hold back from deficit coverage. So just like on the corporation side, let's see, in the accounts, we have here hold back from deficit coverage. Okay, so if you want to retain the investment account and not have any deficits come from there, maybe you want deficits to come from the bank account. We can add a bank account, okay, and the deficits can be accessed through there. We have the same ability now on the family trust, on the accounts, and we can hold back here, hold back from deficit coverage. So that helps manage cash flows a little bit better on the corporation and family trust side. So that's what that's regarding. Lastly, I'm almost done, 21 minutes or so. The final thing, which I really like, is we have the ability to use build a strategy and illustrate an estate freeze. Okay, so what this allows us to do is alter or change the corporate share structure. And as it says here, we have an enhance our existing build a strategy for corporate share structure to not only allow new shares to be added, but also allow distributions to be made on those newly added shares. This will allow users greater control and flexibility to model things like estate freezes and wasting freezes. So let's go back to Conquest and take a look at what that looks like. So if I'm in the planning tab here, I'm in the way. I'll just move myself up a bit here. And when I click more, I go right down to the bottom. We have the build a strategy. Okay, let's say I want to model an estate freeze. So I'll title it estate freeze. Then we have to enter items in this field. For now, I'm just going to enter this just to keep going. Okay, I'll just choose today's date. And then we go to change data right here. When we choose change data, we can go to the operating company and we can go to the corporate structure. And this is what it's in reference to. So it defaults to Class A common shares, and I put the family trust, but we can enter here a preferred share class. Okay, so now we've introduced another share class structure within the corporation. And so we can set the preferred shares, okay, the amount of shares that are being issued, and we can change and alter the ownership structure of the common shares, pass on the future growth to maybe kids or someone else who's buying into the corporation, and freezing the existing shareholders and issuing a new share class as preferred shares. So that's what that's in reference to. So now we can do some pretty detailed planning around estate freezes, which I'm very excited about. So on a case-by-case scenario, let's test that out, and hopefully we'll have an opportunity to work on that together sometime this year. That covers our 12 December 2024 monthly updates for Conquest. Hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching till the end. Till next time.